there is a teacher shortage. We are running out of teachers in every state, but there are some that are having worse issues than others. The ones that are having the worst, the states that have the least amount of teachers that are having the shortage are California, Nevada, Washington, Indiana, Arizona, Hawaii, and the District of Columbia, D.C. Teacher shortages concern educators because larger class sizes result in students receiving less individual attention. And this is a large problem that we're all going to have to be facing. It's been happening for the past 3 to 4 years. And now, it's been happening for the past 3 or 4 years, and it's been accelerating as time goes on. Not only are there less teachers joining the force that are becoming educated and accredited to be able to become a teacher, retirements are going crazy. We have basically the workforce for teachers is aging out. And then on top of that, you had all of the COVID craziness, and it's not like any of the rules for each teacher in each state was uniform. So you got different situations and different scenarios and different problems. A lot of teachers just decided to quit because they didn't feel like dealing with all of the craziness that the COVID mandates and all these other things brought. And now it leads us all the way around to having a shortage in teachers. And it doesn't seem like it's going to get much better. The working conditions for teachers has been progressively getting worse and worse, especially throughout the newer years. It seems like the standards for teaching has gone down as well as the pay has gone down, and basically the all-around standards has gone down for teaching. And it seems like this is a very serious thing that nobody's really talking about right now. I know it's way more interesting to sit down and talk about COVID because all this stuff is right here, right in front of our faces. And there's not much that we can do about it because it is what it is. We have to deal with what we have to deal with right in front of our faces. But this problem is in front of our faces, and for some reason, we're not really talking about it. I can Google it and see there's a few stories on here, but it's not on any of the mainstream websites. It's not on CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, all these other good things. You don't really see it. Maybe an article here or there. But if we really think about how important teachers are hugely important, especially for the young children in poor areas who probably do not have a good home life, where they learn majority of their life skills from school, from not only the teachers, not only the lessons in the classes, but being socialized by their friends. Sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes that's a bad thing. People like to vilify children in bad areas and say, oh, I don't want my kid going there because those kids are bad. I don't think any kid is bad. It's just the area that they grew up in and the way that they were conditioned as they were growing up, and that's what they're used to. We can change that, but in order to change that, we have to have good teachers. We have to have people who actually care about the job. We can't just have random people in there who aren't even accredited, who aren't even qualified for the job to come in just because they need a job. Teaching is something you need to be passionate about. That's how you really affect young children. That's how you affect the young. If you're passionate about it, that will gravitate to them. That will loosen up. That will gravitate to them. That will spread to them. Your passion will infect them. They will want to get better. It's just very complicated and it's very tough. It's a very tough situation because what are we going to do when we do run out of teachers? And the working conditions don't really work very well. A lot of times, teachers have to use their own money. They have to buy books. They have to buy a lot of the supplies for students because they're not provided from the school. So they actually have to go out and buy supplies with their own money that they're getting paid for. So it gets complicated. I've had a bunch of friends who are teachers, and they all had the same issues and the same situations. And a lot of times, I mean, surprisingly, it's not even the students that gets complicated. It's the parents and the other teachers that's hard for teachers to deal with. Usually the students, you understand the students. You get where the students are coming from because the students are the students. They don't really, they don't really go too crazy. I mean, not always. I mean, every now and then you'll get one or two here or there, but that's just part of the game. And we know that. We know that. And the problem is, if we're trying to fix poverty and we're trying to help children who aren't in a good position all by themselves, if we're trying to help them, it is utmost important that we put in the effort to help them. It is utmost important that we put in the money to help them, to pay the teachers right, to make sure that the teachers are accredited. Now, the problem is, with the situation that we have now, the poor kids, the kids in areas that are not as socioeconomically viable, or as they don't make as much money, obviously. It's a poor area. What happens to those kids? They don't get teachers who are highly qualified. They get the ones who are just getting in with less experience, less likely to deal with anything. And then the students probably lack discipline because the home life doesn't have discipline, because a lot of times in hard areas, you don't have that type of discipline. There's a lack of discipline in a lot of areas like this. Not all. I'm not saying all poor people are lack discipline, but in the poor areas that I grew up in, that was a major concern. A lot of people did lack discipline, and that's a problem in life. That's normal stuff, and that's a general problem that part of the population normally has. But in order for you to be able to get out of it, in order for us to encourage our people in our society that you can go up and you can move up in the ladders. You're not just stuck there. It's not the caste system. You're not just going to be stuck there all your life because that's where you were born. If you have the wherewithal to get yourself and make yourself successful, in theory, that's what you want. But in order for us to be able to do that, it's going to be way more complicated if we don't have the right teachers leading us and giving us the right path. Because you can't always depend on parents. It does take the community and as a whole to condition and to get everybody informed and ready for the situation. So what are we going to do about it? Now, a few of the solutions that they do have, now what are we going to do about it? Now, a few of the situations or a few of the solutions that they seem to be having is lowering the standards for accreditation to become a teacher. So you lower the standards, you make it a little bit easier for teachers to become teachers, or students to become teachers, and then you fill in all those positions where they're needed. Now, the quality of teaching is suspect because you are lowering the standards. But what's better? Is it better having larger classes with less individual time, smaller classes with more individual time, but with a teacher who may be less qualified? I would take the less qualified one if that's the only options, but how do you get higher qualified people, higher quality teachers to stay teaching? How do you get them? Because normally the teachers who have all their accreditations, all the teachers who have all of the requirements they need to become a teacher, usually stay at the same school and stay. They usually stay. They don't jump around too much from school to school, and they don't jump around from career to career. They are in it. Now, how do we encourage people to spend that much time and effort on becoming a teacher? Well, we have to make the incentives better. How do we make the incentives better? Pay them. Other than paying them more, I don't necessarily know. But teaching is one of the most important things that we have. And if we do not have teachers out there available to help us, our society will more likely become closer to Idiocracy. And if you guys have seen Idiocracy, you know Idiocracy? Is that how you say it? Idiocracy? Idiocy? Idiocracy? I think it's Idiocracy. But Idiocracy, where the dumb people outbreed the smart people, and then eventually all of society is very, very dumb. And it's an exaggerated thing, and I know that a lot of people use that as an example, but it seems to be a fitting example right now, because we do not want to lead into Idiocracy. But what are we going to do? Our population is expanding, but the teacher base is shrinking. The student population is expanding while the teacher population is shrinking. How do you solve that? Well, the temporary fixes are to get people who aren't necessarily qualified and experienced in there. But then what? It's complicated. It's complicated. So this is just something that we're going to have to be looking into and looking for in the future. And hopefully we'll be able to figure it out so that our younger ones will have a future our younger ones will have a future to look forward to and understand that they're getting the support that they need. And we all need a little bit of support. Nothing can beat a really great teacher. Nothing.